Thank you for tuning in to the Connection Church of the Nazarene podcast. Today, we are talking about the Vibrant Church Initiative, where we want to be as the Connection Church of the Nazarene from here for the next 10 years. Today, you will hear about the needs of our community, the needs of our church, the gifts that God has given our church, and how we can take our gifts and combine them to impact our community. We encourage you to join us and take part of this discussion as you hear about this week, but also over the next weeks and months to come. You can give your time and talents and treasures as well. You can donate to be a part of the ministry here, and you can look on the website at mbnaz.org or go to the Facebook page and you can see the links to that. We hope that you'll be encouraged today as you listen to what God is doing here in Myrtle Beach and 62nd Avenue North.
Once again, good morning. Let's all stand. In the book of John, Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 19, we read, "Because I live, you also will live." And thank God for the life we have in our Savior, Jesus Christ. If you have a hymnal, you can turn to page 256, or the words will be up on the screens behind me. Because He lives. 256, Miss Phyllis, 256. But you're in the Bible rather than hymnal. God sent His Son, they called Him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. How sweet to hold a newborn baby and feel the pride and joy He gives. But greater still, the calm assurance this child can face uncertain days because He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day I'll cross the river, I'll fight life's final war with pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights of glory, and I'll know He reigns. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth a living just because he lives. Amen. You may be seated.
Well, today's going to be a little bit different. The next two Sundays are going to be a little bit different. I know, so this Sunday, over the last probably 4 to 5 months, you've heard of something called VCI. And we are going to go over the VCI today and let you know a little bit about what we're thinking as a church and where we're headed. And then next Sunday, we are going to be doing a all-church praise and worship day. So it's going to be another service filled with hymns and good music again. So I want to encourage you to come again, invite some friends, and be a part of that next Sunday. And just a different kind of Sunday, but a Sunday that we need every once in a while. So, but today we're talking about VCI, the Vibrant Church Initiative. So relax, take some time to listen, but this is going to let you know what we're up to. So, Vibrant Church Initiative, what is it? This is something that's put on by our denomination. And it's an idea of going into churches that are already located inside of their neighborhood. They've been here for a little while. And it's an idea of coming into the church, seeing what's going on in the church, the history of the church, and looking at where the church is headed, but also taking a look at the community around the church and roughly a 3-mile radius around the church and saying, hey, is our church being effective to the community that we are in? And so that's what the Vibrant Church Initiative is, and helping us set years in advance some more goals and some visions to look forward to. So I want to kind of go over some of the positive highlights that we've talked about as a church in the VCI and some of the things that we've learned as a church overall. Now, you remember you took the time and filled out a survey. Remember that a couple months back on SurveyMonkey? Some of you took it here at the church. Well, there's a couple things we discovered that we're good at, and this is only a highlight of a few. If you want to see the entire survey, I can give you a link of that. But so today, to highlight a couple of those. One, we believe we are here for a purpose. Do you believe that this morning? All right. We are here for a purpose. We're here in Myrtle Beach for a purpose. We've been here since the 1960s. God's got us here for a reason. God has us here on 62nd Avenue North for a reason as well. And so we believe that, we feel that, we understand that. The second thing is, this is a place where you feel like you can belong. Do you feel like that this morning? All right. So this is a place where you can belong. This is a place you can connect. This is a place you can call home to. But not only that, this is a place where, as you understand that there are ways you can get connected and you can serve here. And this is something that we've had an emphasis on over the last 2 years of me being here. That we want to create a place and an environment where everyone can discover what the talents that God has given them, and they can use their talents to the glory of God. And let me tell you how this has gone over the last 2 years. About 2 years ago, roughly, when I got here, there was a few people doing a lot of the work. And this is normal for any typical church. It's always a small amount of people doing the work. Today, if we look at the percentages, 98% of our church is serving in some capacity or another. Even the ones who are not here this morning, 98% of the church is serving in some way. Whether that's an usher, a greeter, whether that's you printing off bulletins, whether that's you making phone calls, or whatever you do in the service and in the church itself, 98% of you are serving. Now, this isn't to beat up the other 2%. This is a way of saying that we still want to create an environment that says everyone has a gift and everyone needs to use their gifts and talents. And we want to help you discover what those gifts and talents are. So for those who are new that will be coming over into the church in the next weeks, months, and years ahead, that's one of the main things we want to help people understand. When you come to our church, the Connection Church of the Nazarene, you're welcome here, but there's a place here that you belong, but there's a place where you can serve. And so for those people who already know their gifts, those people who are longtime church people who've been in church their entire lives, been saved for 35, 40 years, hey, come on in. We'll show you where the needs are. You can jump in. But for those people who will be brand new to the faith, who will just be discovering their relationship with God, this is the time where we can help them understand, look, we're a church that wants you to not only form your relationship with God and continue to go deeper in your relationship, but we want to help you serve in your relationship with God. So 98% of serving, be proud of that. That's really, really good. we do have some areas of concerns or areas of improvement that we could work on. And one thing that we know, and this is for every church, this isn't just our church, but there's always a question, where are we going to be in the next 10 years? That's always a fun question. That's a question that's probably all of you've asked, and that's a question that's I've asked too. It's really funny. So they say stress comes out in your hair, you get gray hair sometimes. Every time I cut my hair, I start to see more gray hair come out. So I think I'm going to start growing my hair out like Zach the drummer, and I won't have gray hair. But we get stressed over this. I think about this all the time. Where are we going to be in the next 10 years? There's another way of thinking about this too that Reggie Joyner asked us. If your church shuts down today, how is that going to impact the neighborhood around you? If you shut down today, is your neighborhood even going to notice? Or when you leave here, is this going to create a major hole, a major impact in your community to where it will hurt your community? Our prayer is that we are making such an impact in our community that people's lives are being changed, families are being changed. And so hopefully we won't shut down. That's our prayer. But that's a good question. Where are we going to be in the next 10 years? This is why we're doing the VCI training, to set a foundation to be here in 10 years from now. Can we allow events and situations of the past to be let go? This is a really good question. This is a question we had to ask ourselves. Situations that happened in the past, what happened yesterday, the situations that happened with previous pastors or things that happened, and we kind of bring those up every once in a while. Can we let those things go? Can we continue to see what God has in front of us and reach out and be a part of those things? Now, I'm happy to report that a lot of those things happen when a pastor first comes to the scene. But in the process, though, we are getting our eyes off the situations of the past, and now we're starting to look forward to the future. And I'm so thankful that we're doing that today. Another question is, can we allow old ministries to die and be replaced with new ministries? This is a serious question. This is one of the hardest things for any church to do, because we have passion for something, we have desire for something. The ministries go on and on and on for years, and then they kind of just linger on, and maybe they're not effective, or maybe they're not as good as they used to be intentionally. So we asked some questions over the last 2 years, and we have a couple of examples that I'll give you today. One was our food pantry, and we've talked about this before. If the church across the street, which it does, has a major food pantry that's recognized by the county, and it's one of the largest food pantries in the entire county, of Horry County, why do we need to compete against them? Why do we start a food pantry and compete and try to be better? Instead, what if we joined another church that's another denomination, and we say, you know what, we're really here for the same reason. So we want to bless you, and we want to partner with you, and we want to help give you food, but also take the time to volunteer with you at your food bank and give out food and bless the neighborhood that way. We're doing that. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have over 200 people a day line up. They park in our parking lot and the parking lot across the street to come get food. And because of your giving, because of your time, taking time, some of you to go and just support and donate your time, we are blessing the community through another way. And that's what we're called to do. A second way of doing this, Michael brought this up during the board meeting on Wednesday night, is our bike rally. Our bike ministries. So each time during Bike Week, we take the time and have a cookout, and we have the bikers come here. This is okay, but what we've discovered is there's some other churches who are doing this too, and they're getting an attendance too. So the idea is, what if we took the time to partner with that church, and we combine the bike groups, and we have a praise and worship with them, and we take the time to cook out and do things with them. And so even though things are going away ministry-wise, this allows us to partner with other churches to make a greater impact in our community. This is just called being smart and being intentional. And it makes us nervous because we're thinking, oh man, we're not doing nothing now. But now this leaves room for us to start new things here in our community that are not being done yet. And that's what we're going to get to here in just a second. So that's the major question we have to ask. Can we allow old ministries to die and be replaced with new ministries and new ideas? And I'm proud to say today that we're working that way. That's happening. We're being intentional with the resources God has given us. And we want to continue to be good stewards of what God has given us. The last one, our areas of concern, are building improvements and updates. Now, this is a good thing, but also it's a bad thing. So let me give you an example of what I'm saying for both. When you walk into our church, you see scuff marks on the wall, marks, things like that. This is a good thing because that tells us people have been here and they've marked on the wall, okay? So this is an awesome thing. One thing I love is when little kids are here and they put fingerprints all over the windows. To us, it's dirty and it's messy, but to anyone else, that tells us there's kids here. They get to learn about Jesus. Their fingerprints are on the door. And so we don't want them there forever and always necessarily, but we do want to create an environment that says everyone's welcome. So one thing we want to do is make sure that we make the place look fresh and clean and warm and inviting. And so over the next probably 3 to 4 months, we're going to talk about painting. We're just repainting, touching up the entire church, the sanctuary, the hallway, the fellowship hall. We've talked about cleaning our floors and maybe even replacing the floors in the fellowship hall because you'll see how dirty they are when you walk through. And there's other things like staples and things in the wall that were used for decorations and never taken out. So if we just take the time and clean up, make this place a little bit better, it'll be more welcoming for people around us. So these are areas of concern. Nothing necessarily major, but we believe we'll be here in 10 years. At least I do, and I hope you do too. And the other things we're working on. So God's blessing us here. Let's continue on. So we we took part of a community assessment, and we discovered there are some interesting things happening in Myrtle Beach. And you see these things, we just don't always put these down on paper. One is that we have a rapidly growing retirement population, okay? It's increasing dramatically every year. As you know, some people say it's too expensive to live in Florida, so now they come here, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's also closer back home, wherever home is up north. And so a lot of people choose to stay here and come here. Beautiful weather, cheaper to live, and so they want to come here. Now we see this in the next couple points. There's rapid growth in new housing in neighborhoods. You see this all the time. I think right now there are 8 neighborhoods being built in Myrtle Beach itself within a 13-mile radius. And one is just right across the street here, right across from the YMCA. It's a 55 and older community only. And so we know there's a couple hundred houses going there, which tells us within a year, this neighborhood is going to drastically change. And they just put this part of the corner on sale, and the other 2 parts are on sale too, which means more houses are coming, which is good, but it's also bad for us because that means we have to wait longer at red lights. But we'll pray for that when it gets here. Another thing, Hispanic and Latin American presence. We have a major presence, and it's starting to grow even more and more. We see it here just along the road here at the red light. Both apartment complexes are filled with Hispanic and Latin American presence. This is a good thing. Now, it's also coming into the questions that we get nervous about. Are there legal? Are there illegal immigrants? What is in our apartments? Guess what? We're not necessarily worried about that. God doesn't see that in this process. God sees that as we have a person here and we can minister to them. We can reach out to them and let them know, hey, just because you're here, whether legal or illegally, we want to tell you about a God who loves you. So that no matter what happens, we want you to know there's a God who loves you and there's a church on 62nd Avenue who loves you as well. So we see that, Hispanic and Latin American presence. Today, if you were to leave this church right now and go into just to the red light and look around, you'll see a whole lot of Hispanic kids playing around. You'll see a lot of Hispanic adults just sitting outside, grilling out, doing things. Why? Because they don't have a church to belong to. And so this is a place where we can say, hey, what could we do as a church? Could we offer, can we host a Hispanic pastor here and do a Hispanic ministries here at the church and just say we're welcoming everyone because God loves them too? A next need that we see is the growing homeless population. I don't know if you've been keeping up in the news, but Coastal Carolina has been going out and doing a census of all the homeless people in the community right now. Just downtown Myrtle Beach in one day, they counted like 600 homeless people. There's estimates that it's up to 3,000 homeless people in Horry County. Now, the thing is, you don't see all of them on the streets. More homeless people have day jobs, but they live in their cars, or maybe they don't have their own home to call home. So they go and sleep on someone's couch. They go sleep wherever they can. This happens a lot, and we're seeing a growing homeless population in Horry County. Let's continue on. So here's where we come in. What do we do as a church? Remember, we want to be here 10 years down the road. I hope you do. I do. So this is a beautiful, beautiful place to be. This is a great place to be. So why not join God in his work? So we're going to create a 2020 vision, and it's not being created today. We're in the process of creating this. But now we're dreaming. We're putting on the lenses that God's called us to put on, and we're saying, what can we do as a church? What can we do as God's people? And so we are setting goals from today until the year 2020, and we are calling this a 2020 vision. What do we want to see and pray that God can do through us and with us from now to 2020? There's two things we want to do. One, we want to develop a new ministry or outreach and allow it to become part of our identity and DNA. Which means what we're saying here is we want to start something new that becomes so much at our core in our ministry that when people see the Connection Church of the Nazarene, they instantly know that church does this. That church is helping this group of people or these folks. And also, when people come and talk to us, hey, what church do you go to on Sunday mornings? Oh, I go to the Church of the Nazarene on 62nd Avenue North. Let me tell you what we're up to. So that when people hear about our church, they hear about our ministries. They hear about what we're up to. The second thing is we're going to begin to develop a second ministry or outreach program by the year 2020 to 2021. Okay? So we want to do one and then be in the process of starting another one in 2 years down the road. This is very doable. It sounds concerning to some of you, but it's very doable. And once we get into it, you'll discover, oh, we're already doing some of this, so it's really good. Let's continue going. So here are the top 5 needs of our community. We ended up coming up with 16 different groups of people in Myrtle Beach and Horry County and the 3-mile radius. And we narrowed it down to the top 5. What are the top 5 greatest needs of our community that we see? The first one is seniors. Obviously, if it's continuing to grow, if the senior population continues to grow, there's more needs. Second is homelessness. Third is single-parent families. We have a big group of that. Fourth is Latin American Hispanic. And then fifth is families. Now, these are not in order from greatest to least. It's just put up there. But that's our 5 big needs for Horry County or Myrtle Beach right now. Seniors, homelessness, single-parent families, Latin American Hispanic communities, and then also families themselves with, in theory, a father and a mother. Let's keep going. So, what do we do as a church? And here's where it gets a little tricky, because we can be like a lot of other churches in our community and go for the same groups of people that they are competing for right now. And let me give you some examples. First one is if we do a food bank. Again, we're competing against other churches already who are doing it very well. We have a lot of churches in our local area right here who are going after children. They're spending a lot of money in children. They have developed great places, a great venue. We hear a lot of kids going there. So, and we have other folks who are catering towards college kids and things like that. Now, this is not to say that we will never have those ministries. This is just saying, what if we take the time to look at other avenues in other areas, and we work in those areas that are not being ministered to right now? And in the process, we will continue to develop our children and things like that. So, there's 2 groups that we're going to focus on from now to 2020. The first one is seniors, okay? So let's keep going. Here's what we're seeing with seniors. We're seeing that we need to create a friendly environment for seniors, a place where they can come that's not inside their homes. You know, a lot of folks just sit at home and watch TV all day. How many of you watch soap operas? No? None of y'all? All right, so, somebody doesn't here. You're just not raising your hand. But my grandmother does that. I'll call her in the middle of the day. What you watching? Days of Our Lives. Okay. And then she'll spend 20 minutes catching me up on Days of Our Lives. Terrible, right? And then I'll call her back an hour and a half later. What are you doing now? Oh, watching the news. And that's all she does. And so she'll hear, and then she'll watch the 5 o'clock news. And if there is a wreck on I-95, which is an hour and a half away from us, she will call and say, do you see the wreck? No, I do not see a wreck. Not the wreck you're thinking about. And that's how it is. But we're noticing that a lot of seniors, they get a little nervous getting out. They don't want to go out into the major traffic, into the major areas like a mall or to the movie theater because there's just so many people, especially in Myrtle Beach in the summertime. So what if we create a place here at our church that is welcoming and friendly, and we do events here to where they can come and just be together with a few amount of people and just spend time together here? A couple ways that plays out. One, we're thinking about starting a homebound ministry, a homebound outreach. There's a lot of folks who can't come here on Sunday morning, and they're sitting at home watching TV pastors. Not necessarily a bad thing, I'm not beating that up. But what if we can create Wesleyan Holiness Ministries, where we send out Wesleyan Holiness work? We can send out Bible studies. We can send out, we're doing podcasts right now. We can make it available to where they can join us and do the things that they used to do before, but now they do it at the comfort of their homes. So what if we create a ministry where we can do that? We can allow them to continue to be a part of the church, but not just be able to sit in our church today. To kind of give you an update on our podcast, every Sunday night we post our podcast on everything. YouTube, it's everywhere. So on the internet, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on everything. So if you miss a Sunday, you can easily click on and be a part of it. Very quickly, we're going live, and I'm not happy about this. Who wants to see a big old blueberry live on Facebook? But Michael's excited about that. So that is against my comfort zone. I'm very nervous about this. But we have discovered there are a substantial amount of people who watch us and who listen to our podcast. By Tuesday night, we already have over 20 downloads of our services on Sunday morning. By the end of the week, we might have between 30, even sometimes up to 40 people who have listened to our podcast and our downloads. We're very quickly coming to the point where we're going to have more people watching virtually online than we're going to have sitting in our pews for now. That's really interesting. But there's the way families are working, they're always on the go. The way children are doing things, sports and activities, the way you guys travel, this is a way that the church has to accommodate, where we say, hey, we're still going to do ministry, but you can connect with us wherever you are in the United States or around the world online and still be a part of our church. So, homebound outreach, welfare, night checks. 2 houses over from us, there's a lady who is 95 years old. She lives by herself. Gloria used to go check on her, but now Gloria is in assisted living. So in theory, there's no one checking on her anymore. What do we do about her? Who's helping her? If she has questions, if she needs help just going to the store, who's going to help her? That's where we can step in as God's people and just go knock on a door. Hey, we're from the church down the street. We just want to say we love you, we care about you. Can we do anything for you? Home visits, welfare checks, just connecting with those who are older, a little older, and saying, hey, we're here for you if you ever need anything. This also starts intentional conversation, to where we can talk to them and discover who they are, they can discover who we are, and we can start doing ministry one-on-one, which starts homebound ministries as well. Michael has generously talked about doing maintenance and home repair. So you remember this time last year, we went over and painted Gloria's house. We painted her front porch and all those things around it. It looks really good. It really brightened her day because a lot of things that she could not do since she's older, the church lovingly came over and took a part of that. There's a lot of folks who just have burned out light bulbs, or maybe they have a fire alarm that the battery's dead. Maybe they just need help with simple things. This is where we can come in and help in that process, just saying, look, we see some needs, can we help you? Transportation team. Again, there's some groups of people who maybe just need to go to the doctor, or maybe they need to go get some food right quick, or maybe need help going to the drugstore. This is where we can take the time and say, hey, I can volunteer a couple hours throughout my day or through an evening or on a Saturday, and we can create a list and say, I would love to go pick someone up and take them just to go shopping or to the beach or wherever they want to go. Resource center, pamphlets. We want our church to become a resource center to where if someone needs help with maybe signing up for government benefits, SSI, maybe they need help with food stamps, or maybe they need help in another way. We want to create avenues to where they can come and say, look, I need help in this way, and we're not scrambling looking for answers. We have it already. We have the resources made, and we can say, hey, if you need help in this way, call this person. We're going to help you in the process. A resource center in that way. Pamphlets, too. Let's keep going. We've talked about ministry ideas, and there's some more that we want to think about. You know, we do church at night and on Wednesday nights. In the summertime, it's okay as long as you can beat the vacation traffic. But in the wintertime, it gets dark very quickly. So when you're here, it's already dark. And by the time we leave at 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock at night, depending if there's a board meeting, you might as well spend the night at my house because it's pretty dark and everyone's pretty tired. So for senior citizens, it's very difficult to drive at night. So an idea is, what if we start a middle of the day daytime Bible study, a lunchtime or 1 or 2 o'clock? They can DVR the days of our lives or whatever else they need to DVR. But you can learn about Jesus if you're able to come out. So what if we create a Bible study on Wednesday daytime or any other time of the week, and we just do a daytime Bible study? Traveling worship team. We had this in my other church. It was really interesting. Some of you love to sing. What if we go to nursing homes or the shut-ins and we sing for them? We do this with Christmas carols here. But what if we do this once a month where we go to the nursing home and sing hymns, or we do something like that, just to brighten people's days up? And then worship experiences changes here at our church. This is something we get to do. What does that mean? Well, we want to take the time to make our font a little bit bigger on our TV screens because some of you are already squinting. We'll bring in the eye checkers next week so they can check your eyes. Just kidding. No, but we want to do that. We want to create a more friendly way for you to be able to see the music, the words on the screen on Sunday morning so that you can sing with us. We want to take the time to update our sound system. There are sound packs that you can wear that is connect to the microphones, and you can adjust the volume on your sound pack to hear what is coming through the speakers. So whether that's the music, so you can continue with that, or even my preaching, so you can take the time to keep up with that. So that is an opportunity that we want to be a part of. Bigger font bulletins and things like that. We want to become a senior-friendly church in that way. Let's keep going. The second group that we see the greatest need. Oh, let me back up for a second. Why did we start with senior citizens? Well, there's a good reason. We have to look at the gifts that God has given us right now. What can we do immediately in the next year and a half to start a ministry and take part of it, and we can do it successfully because God has already blessed us with those gifts? Well, we can't start a children's church and a huge children's ministry right now. Why? Because how many of us can take the time on Sunday mornings to go do children's ministries? How many of you feel like this is your gift that you can do it? We can do it, just not on a large scale, okay? But we want to provide that because a lot of times when senior citizens come, they bring their grandkids. So we're going to create an environment that we do have children's ministries and Sunday school, but we're not going to make that our primary ministry per se that we're reaching out with right now at least. So senior citizens and reaching out in ministry that way is the very easiest thing we can do right now that we know we can set up for success with. The second one, again, is, where are we at? Keep going. There you go. Hispanic Latin American, 2020 to 2021. Remember, we're going to start a second one and start the process of discovering it and doing the research for it so that by 2020 to 2021, we can start that and it'll also become a part of our DNA. We've looked around and we looked at our resources, we looked at the people around us, and we discovered the next best way possible right now is the next best thing we can do ministry-wise is for our Hispanic and Latin American community. So let's keep going. What does that look like? One, again, we want to create a safe and friendly environment for our Hispanics. They love to be outside. You remember last Halloween when we did the trunk or treat? They wanted to come out, but then the immigration services were driving around, so they all stayed inside. We lost a lot of potential contact because of immigration services driving around. Well, we want to create a safe place to where they can come and feel like they can take part of the worship and take part of family life here and still be safe. Now look, we're not going against the government. That's not what I'm saying. We're not trying to harbor illegal immigrants. We're not doing any of that. We're trying to do ministry to a group of people. That's what I want you to hear this morning. We're not trying to smuggle them in. We're not trying to do all that. We're trying to do ministry towards a group of people. We want to continue. And you probably noticed this, that Hispanics stay with their families. They're very family-cultured people. When you see one, you see a lot of them together. in their houses is the same way. You'll see 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 families in a 2-room apartment because that's how they are. This is not a bad thing, but this tells us that family is a primary value to Latin American and Hispanic families. And so what can we do to create a family environment here that says you can come here and worship here and take part of church activities here, and you can still have that same family and worship value here? So what do we want to do? There's a couple things. We want to do, keep going back. There you go. English as a second language classes. Aren't you excited? Don't you want to learn Spanish? I do. Here's the reason why. One, if we have people coming into our church who don't know English, it'd be nice to have a few people who can speak Spanish. We have one already. It's Ruth Wolf. She can speak Spanish. But we want a couple more. And so we are in contact with one of the Spanish teachers at the local high school, Lisa's High School. And we're talking right now about offering weekly classes about Spanish. So you can come and learn Spanish throughout the summer every week, just 1 day a week for an hour or 2. And you can learn Spanish. You'll learn about their culture, their community, simple phrases to say hi, bye, welcome to our church, whatever you can do. But we're looking at starting that this summer and also having it next summer. So the next 2 summers, and maybe even throughout the year, you can start to learn Spanish and learn more about the Latin American community. If that's something you're interested in, please let Lisa know. I think she would like to hear about that. Culture classes, groups. When you think about this, if we had to immediately immigrate to Germany or to France, somewhere where they speak a total different language and there's a total different culture, and we go there together, we're going to be grouping up together as well because we speak the same language and we come from the same country or the same place. And we slowly venture out into that country and figure out how to live life. Well, we don't have to do that, hopefully, ever, to be immigrants anywhere. But there are groups of people who are doing that here in America. And a part of that is the Hispanic Latin American community. And they are nervous about reaching out. How do we as Hispanics and Latin Americans blend in with society in a total different culture? So what if we create a place here where we can help them understand our culture and our community and our holidays and the way that we do things? Just a way of kind of helping them get to know America a little bit better. Culture classes. That'll also help us so that we can understand their cultures better too. Another thing is resource pamphlets. Things like helping them get connected with social services, maybe healthcare needs. Lisa has a lady right now in her school that has some major physical needs, and she cannot find a doctor because they do not have health insurance. So she cannot find a good doctor who will take care of her needs. So we can step in and find a good doctor who will help folks who do not have health insurance and they're undocumented people. But someone who says, you know what, we want to help heal these people. So we can find those types of needs and those people who can help everyone. Resources again, safe places to go, places they can go and be themselves without being lashed out at the community for being different. And lastly, Hispanic ministries here at the church. Wouldn't it be nice to start a second service, to have a Hispanic ministries here at the church? It would be great to be a part of that. So that's another thing we want to start. Let me back up and talk about one more thing for our seniors. One thing that we can do here for our senior citizens is host classes here in our church. So we can go to the fire department and have them host a class here, a little conference during the daytime, and talk about things like fire safety, how to change your batteries, how to do things in your home to make it fireproof or fire safe, creating a fire plan in their house. We can go to the police department and have them come in and host a conference to talk about car safety and physical safety and house safety so that if a burglar comes, they know what they can do. We can go down to the local hospital and have a doctor, a heart doctor, come in and host a conference here that talks about heart health and how to eat right and how to do things right. So we're just starting ways of reaching out to our community to help them live life better and to be a part of that. And we also want to do that with our Hispanic ministries as well. So let's keep going. So when we start in this process, we're talking about changes that need to be made in our church. And this needs to be made no matter what. We need to update our facilities, put a little new fresh paint on the wall, change out some of our light bulbs to make them a little bit brighter. We looked at cleaning the floors to make an attractive environment so that no matter who comes in, They feel like this isn't a museum, which it's not. But we want to make sure it never gets that way. We want to make sure it's always attractive to people around us. We got any more slides? So, we're starting this conversation today. It's not happening immediately, but we're starting this conversation so that you can be starting to pray about it. We need your help in a couple ways. One, we want you to pray. This is the direction we feel like the Lord's calling our church to go in. It's not set in stone. When we talked about this as a board on Wednesday night at 11 o'clock, we had a woman from Kentucky email us and say, hey, we're moving down and we have 6 kids. What do you have? What ministries do you have for our 6 kids? Man, okay. So we don't have kids right now. But so I email back nicely and say, hey, we have some stuff planned, but we don't have kids yet. But we would love to start these ministries with your kids. Do you see how all of a sudden our whole church changed if we have 6 kids come and take part of it? So this is not set in stone. God always does some amazing things and always does some interesting things to us. But again, we want to pay attention to what God is up to. And we want to be a part of what God's doing in our community and what God wants to do here at the church. So we need to be faithful to what God's leading us to. So I want to encourage you to pray. You have a lot of questions probably. Over the next 6, 8, 10 months, we're going to continue to unveil this process. We're going to continue to talk through this, okay? So don't be nervous. It's going to be okay. You're going to see some changes, though. And we've already had some changes. We've changed the way our bulletin looks. It looks drastically different than what it did 3 weeks ago. We're updating our sound system. We had some new cords put in so that our TVs don't keep messing up like they did over the last couple weeks. Our welcome team has changed. We continue to make small improvements so that we can be better at doing ministry. We're going to continue in this process, but we want all of your help in this process. We don't want to leave anyone out. We encourage you to offer your ideas and solutions. Some of you, when we thought about seniors or we talked about Hispanics, some ideas popped in your mind. Some of you, there might have been some negative comments. Some of you might have some good comments. We want to hear both, but we don't want to linger on the negative comments. There will be concerns, there will be fears, but we cannot allow fear to take place of what God is calling us to do. Remember, fear blocks faith. Fear blocks where God is working in us. So we want to make sure that we step out in faith and be obedient to God's leading. So it's okay to have some questions and concerns, but let's face those questions and concerns and allow God to work in those situations. And also, we want to be good stewards. We want to make sure that we do everything that we can that God's called us to. That means we are good stewards in our time, and our talents, and our treasures. And we talked about that in January, that we continue to give as the best we can in our tithes and offerings and more, that we take the time to give in our time when we come and we donate our time throughout the week or when these new ministries start, but also our talents. Remember, God has given you these talents. We want to make sure that we live those things out. Don't hog the talents up to yourself. Let God use them so that you can bless other people around you. Okay? I think that's the last one, isn't it? Okay, good. Well, we're going to continue the conversation over the next 6, 8, and 10 months, all right? This isn't the first time you will hear about it. It's not the last time you'll hear about it, I promise. So let's pray, and let's go eat.